The men surrounded her, their laughter like knives in the crowded market. She was just a vendor, but they saw weakness. I saw fear. My name is Kalen, and I'm just a baker, barely making ends meet. I've spent my life keeping my head down, but I couldn't walk away. I stepped between them, my hands shaking. "Leave her alone," I said. I had no idea who I was talking to, and I had no idea who I was protecting. That one decision, that single moment of foolish courage, would change not only my life but the entire city. Intro call to action. 50 words. This story is a testament to the fact that one act of kindness can echo through generations. Don't miss what happens next. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel to follow our journey into the heart of courage. My name is Kalen. I'm not a hero. I'm just a man who wakes up at 3 a.m. every day to bake bread. My hands are covered in flour and old burns, not glory. I inherited the People's Bakery from my father, but it's more of a burden than a legacy. We're located in the oldest, poorest part of the city, a place the skyscrapers and politicians forgot. Every month is a struggle. The rent goes up, but my customers' wallets don't. I keep the place running on fumes and favors, mostly because it's the only place in the neighborhood where people can get a fresh loaf for what they can afford. I give away more than I sell. My life is a predictable loop of mixing dough, sweeping floors, and dodging calls from the bank. I've watched the neighborhood decay, swallowed by predators, loan sharks, gang leaders, and a corrupt city councilman named Marcus Thorne. Thorne wants this land. He wants to bulldoze our history and build luxury condos. He's been squeezing the market vendors, my neighbors, for protection money. I've always kept my head down. I'm not a fighter. I'm a baker. I've seen what happens to people who stand up to Thorne. They disappear or their businesses go up in smoke, literally. So I told myself to stay out of it. Focus on the bread. Focus on surviving. But I've been feeling hollow. My father built this bakery to feed the people, to be a cornerstone of the community. I'm just surviving. I'm 29, deeply in debt, and I've forgotten what it feels like to stand up for anything. I tell myself that being invisible is a survival tactic, but deep down I know it's just a synonym for being a coward. It was a hot Thursday. The market was packed, but it was a tense crowd. Thorne's men were out in force, swaggering between the stalls, kicking over crates of vegetables, demanding their tax. I was delivering bread to Mrs. Petrov's fruit stand when I saw her. She was new. She had a small table set up, selling simple hand-carved wooden birds. She was dressed plainly, a scarf covering most of her hair, but there was a light in her eyes that didn't belong in this part of the city. She looked lost. Then Thorne's main enforcers, two brutes named Jax and Rilo, cornered her. Well, new girl, Jax sneered, picking up one of the carvings. This is a prime spot. The protection fee is high. She stood up, her voice quiet but firm. I don't have any money. I'm just trying to sell these, Rilo laughed. Then you'll have to pay another way. He grabbed her arm. The entire market went silent. Everyone looked away just like I always did. They were afraid. I was afraid. But as he tightened his grip and she winced in pain, something inside me snapped. It was the hollowness, the shame of my own inaction. Before I could think, I dropped my bread basket. My voice came out stronger than I expected. Let her go. Jax and Rilo turned, surprised. Just a baker. I was just the flour-covered baker. What did you say, bread boy? I stepped forward, putting myself between them and the woman. I said, let her go. It was a hot Thursday. The market was packed, but it was a tense crowd. Thorne's men were out in force, swaggering between the stalls, kicking over crates of vegetables, demanding their tax. I was delivering bread to Mrs. Petrov's fruit stand when I saw her. She was new. She had a small table set up, selling simple hand-carved wooden birds. She was dressed plainly, a scarf covering most of her hair, but there was a light in her eyes that didn't belong in this part of the city. She looked lost. Then Thorne's main enforcers, two brutes named Jax and Rilo, cornered her. Well, new girl, Jax sneered, picking up one of the carvings. This is a prime spot. The protection fee is high. She stood up, her voice quiet but firm. I don't have any money. I'm just trying to sell these, Rilo laughed. Then you'll have to pay another way. He grabbed her arm. The entire market went silent. Everyone looked away just like I always did. They were afraid. I was afraid. But as he tightened his grip and she winced in pain, something inside me snapped. It was the hollowness, the shame of my own inaction. Before I could think, I dropped my breadbasket. My voice came out stronger than I expected. "Let her go." Jackson Rilo turned, surprised. "Just a baker." I was just the flour-covered baker. "What did you say, bread boy?" I stepped forward, putting myself between them and the woman. I said, "Let her go." Jax laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "I have got a death wish, Kalen." He shoved me hard. I stumbled back, but I didn't fall. I just planted my feet. "She's not paying you. No one is. Not today." For a moment, the entire market held its breath. Jax's eyes narrowed. He pulled a knife. Big mistake, he lunged. I'm not a fighter, but I've spent a decade lifting 50-pound bags of flour. I dodged the clumsy swing and grabbed his wrist, using all my weight to twist it. He howled as the knife clattered to the pavement. Rilo charged. But from behind me, the woman, her name I learned was Ela, grabbed a heavy clay pot from a nearby stall and smashed it over his head. He crumpled. Jax, clutching his wrist, looked at me, then at the growing crowd who were no longer looking away. He saw faces filled with anger, not fear. He spat on the ground. "This ain't over. Thorn will hear about this. You're a dead man, Baker." He ran, dragging Rilo with him. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would break my ribs. I turned to Ela. "Are you all right?" She was breathing heavily, but she nodded, pulling her scarf tighter. "Thank you. You didn't have to do that." "Neither did you," I said, glancing at the broken pot. "That was quick thinking." She gave a small smile. "I've had to learn." I helped her clean up her scattered carvings. Her hands were delicate but calloused. "I'm Kalen," I said. "Ela," she replied. "Just Ela." Over the next few weeks, Ela became a regular at the market. And so did the trouble. Thorn was furious. My bakery window was smashed. My delivery van's tires were slashed. My suppliers, one by one, called to say they couldn't deliver to me anymore. They were advised to cut ties. I was being choked out. The community tried to help. Mrs. Petrov gave me fruit for my pastries. The butcher gave me scraps for meat pies. We were a small island fighting a tidal wave. Ella was there every day. She'd come to the bakery after the market closed, helping me sweep. Her quiet presence a strange comfort. We talked. I told her about my father, my debts, my fear that I was failing his legacy. She listened. She spoke of a complicated family, of a father who was powerful and controlling, of her desire to build something of her own with her own hands, like the small birds she carved. There was a sadness in her, a loneliness that mirrored my own. I was falling for her, but I was also terrified. Thorn was escalating. He sent men to inspect my bakery, threatening to have it condemned. He was going to take everything. One night, Ela found me staring at a final foreclosure notice from the bank. "He's won," I whispered, the paper shaking in my hand. "I'm finished." The next day, the doors of the bakery burst open. It wasn't Jax or Rilo this time. It was Marcus Thorn himself, flanked by his thugs and, more terrifyingly, 2 men in expensive suits holding briefcases. The few customers I had scattered. "Kalen," Thorn said, his voice smooth and reptilian. "I admire persistence. I really do. But yours has become annoying." He threw the foreclosure notice onto my counter. "The bank called in your loan. As it happens, I am a compassionate man. I bought your debt." He smiled. "You have 24 hours to pay me $200,000, or I take this building. And since we both know you don't have 200 cents, this is over." I felt the blood drain from my face. This was it. Decades of my family's work gone. "You can't just—" "I can," he cut me off. "I just did." From the back room, Ela walked out, wiping flour from her hands. "Mr. Thorn," she said, her voice clear and cold. Thorn's smile faltered, replaced by confusion. He didn't recognize her. "Who is this?" "Your new girlfriend, Baker." "Get her out of here." "Business talk." "You're right, this is business," Ela said. She pulled her phone from her pocket. She made a single call. Her voice changed. It was no longer the quiet market vendor. It was a voice of absolute hereditary command. "Father?" "It's Alara. Yes, I'm fine. But I have a problem. A man named Marcus Thorn. He's at the People's Bakery on 9th Street. He's threatening my friend." She paused, listening. "Yes, the entire portfolio. Liquidate it and call the Attorney General. Tell him I'm calling in the favor." She hung up. Thorn was pale. "Ilara." "Ilara who?" The men in suits behind Thorn suddenly looked terrified. One of them whispered. "Sir, I think that's Ilara Vance." "Vance?" Thorne choked. "As in King Vance." Alexander Vance, the king. The man who didn't just own a few buildings, he owned the banks. He owned the city. Thorne's phone rang. He looked at it, his hand trembling. He answered. We couldn't hear the other side, but we saw the color drain from Thorne's face. He looked like he was going to be sick. He hung up. There's been a misunderstanding, he stammered. Ilara stepped forward. "No, I understand perfectly. You are a parasite, Mr. Thorne, and you just tried to bully the only honest man I've met in this city. You are finished." Thorne and his men scrambled out of the bakery, tripping over each other. The men in suits were already on their phones, likely calling their lawyers. The bakery was silent, save for the hum of the old refrigerator. I just stared at her. "Ilara Vance." She finally looked at me, and the mask of command was gone. The quiet, gentle Ela was back, and she looked ashamed. "Kaelin, I never meant to lie to you." "You're the king's daughter," I said, the words feeling foreign. "Alexander Vance, he was a myth. A recluse who controlled shipping, real estate, and half the politicians in the state. You're a billionaire." She nodded, sitting down at one of the small tables. "My father is protective, controlling. He believes everyone is after our money. He's kept me hidden, secret for my own safety. I'm his heir, and he's groomed me to take over, but he never lets me live. I'm a prisoner in a golden cage. I just wanted to see what it was like, to be normal, to make something with my own hands." She held up one of her small wooden birds. "I ran away, in a sense. I took a new name, rented a small apartment. I wanted to see if I could be someone without the Vance name. The market, it was the first time I felt real. I sat across from her, my head spinning. So what happens now?" "Thorne is done," she said, her voice flat. "My father's lawyers will strip him of everything he stole. The news is probably breaking already. He'll be in jail by morning." "And us?" I asked, afraid of the answer. She looked at her hands. "My father is sending a car. He's furious I'm here. I have to go back, Kaelin." My heart sank. Of course she did. She was a princess and I was just a baker. The gap between our worlds wasn't a gap. It was a canyon. We sat in silence for a minute. The spell was broken. She was Ilara Vance and I was back to being Kaelin the baker. "You saved my bakery," I said quietly. "You saved me, Kaelin," she replied, her eyes meeting mine. "You were the only person who didn't look away. You stood up for me when you had nothing to gain and everything to lose. Do you know how rare that is in my world?" The sound of a sleek black limousine pulling up outside filled the small shop. It was over. She stood up, and for a moment I saw the girl who smashed a pot over a thug's head. "This isn't the end," she said with that same fire. "My father wants me to be his heir? Fine, I'll be his heir, but I'm doing it my way." She walked to the door, then turned back. "Don't sell the bakery, Kaelin. Your debt is gone, and wait for me." She was gone. The next few months were a blur. True to Ilara's word, Thorne was arrested. The news was electric. A corrupt councilman taken down by an anonymous tip from the Vance organization. But the tip wasn't anonymous to the neighborhood. The story spread through the market like wildfire. The baker who stood up to Thorne, the mystery woman, the fall of a tyrant. Suddenly, I wasn't just Kaelin the baker. I was a symbol. My debt was paid, but more than that, my spirit was back. I realized my father's legacy wasn't just about bread. It was about the community. I used the bakery as a new starting point. With Thorne gone, the protection money everyone was paying was freed up. I organized the market vendors into a co-op. We pooled our resources, fixed the stalls and hung lights. We made the market a destination, so I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was leading. I didn't hear from Ilara directly. No calls, no letters. It was like she had vanished back into the clouds, but her presence was everywhere. The city grant I applied for to start a community kitchen, a place to teach kids to bake and offer free meals, was approved in record time. A new anonymous donor paid for a complete renovation of the bakery, turning the burnt-out apartment upstairs into a clean, safe shelter for 2 families. Journalists started appearing, writing stories about the miracle on 9th Street, and the baker who started it all. They called me a local legend. I knew it was her. She wasn't just sending me money. She was giving me tools. She was empowering me to do the work. to become the man she believed I was. I missed her. I missed Ela, the quiet carver. I worried that Ilara Vance, the heiress, had forgotten me. But every time a new opportunity appeared that allowed me to help my community, I felt her presence. I was changing. I was no longer the man who kept his head down. I spoke at city council meetings. I advocated for my neighbors. I had found my voice. I was becoming the man my father always wanted me to be. I was building a legacy, not just running from a debt. But I still looked at the door every day, half hoping she would walk in covered in flour and ask if I needed help sweeping. 6 months after she left, the black car returned. It was the 1-year anniversary of the day we'd fought off Jax and Relo. The market was thriving. We were having a street festival. The bakery was the center of it all, music playing, kids handing out free cupcakes. I was covered in flour, laughing, when the car pulled up. The whole street went quiet. The door opened and she stepped out. She wasn't Ela, she was Ilara Vance. She wore a sharp, elegant business suit, her hair pulled back. She looked powerful, intimidating. She looked like the king's daughter. She walked toward me, her eyes scanning the transformed market, the clean streets, the happy faces, the Vance Kalen Community Kitchen sign above my door. I hadn't used her name. She must have done that herself. "You've been busy," she said, her voice a mix of business and something softer. "You made this possible," I replied, wiping my hands on my apron. "I just baked the bread," she smiled. "No. You showed them how to be brave, Kalen. I just cleared the path." "So," I said, my heart aching, "are you here to inspect your investment, Ms. Vance?" The name felt wrong. She winced. "I'm here," she said, "to stop hiding." She turned to the crowd, who were watching with curiosity. "My name is Ilara Vance. Many of you have benefited from my family's anonymous donations." She gestured to the kitchen. "But the Vance name has for too long been associated with shadows and power. It's time it was associated with good. My father wanted me to take over his corporate empire, and I will. But my first act as the new CEO is to announce the Vance Community Foundation. Its first and permanent president will be Kalen." I was stunned. "President? Ilara, I'm a baker." "You're a leader," she said, turning back to me. "You rebuilt this entire district with almost nothing. Imagine what you can do with a real budget." "My father thinks in terms of profit and loss. You think in terms of people. That's why I need you." A man stepped out of the car. An older, stern-looking man with the same eyes as Ilara, Alexander King Vance. He walked up to us. The crowd practically genuflected. He looked at me, then at the bakery, then at his daughter. "So," he grumbled, "you're the baker who's been costing me millions in donations." I stood tall. "It's an investment, sir. The returns are right here." I gestured to the families and children. The king looked at me for a long, hard moment. Then he did something I never expected. He smiled, a real smile. "She was right about you. You've got nerve, and you've done more with this block than my entire board has done for the city in 20 years. He looked at Ilara. "The foundation is yours, and he's yours too, I suspect. Just don't bankrupt me in the first year." He got back in the car. Ilara was left standing in front of me, a small, nervous smile on her face. "He actually likes you. The presidency—" "Ilara, I can't—" "You can," she said, stepping closer. "But it's not just a job offer, Kalen. I didn't come back for the bakery. I came back for the baker. I've spent 6 months fighting my father, restructuring his company, and proving to him that I'm more than just his secret daughter. I did it all so I could stand here today, not as Ela the runaway and not as Ilara the heiress, but just as Ilara, your Ilara, if you'll have me." I looked at this incredible woman, the one who carved birds, the one who commanded kings, the one who saw a hero in me when I just saw a coward. I didn't have a ring. I didn't have a mansion. I just had flour on my hands and a heart that was about to burst. I held out my hand. She took it, not caring about the flour. "Welcome home, Ela," I whispered. She kissed me right there in the middle of the market, as the whole neighborhood cheered. I didn't just become a legend because I saved her. I became a legend because she saved me, and together we rebuilt our world. True courage isn't about the absence of fear. It's about acting in spite of it. Kalen was just a baker, but his one act of kindness saved a life and in turn saved a whole community. He didn't just get the girl. he found himself. He became a legend not because of what he did, but why he did it. Love and bravery are the true currencies of this world. If this story of courage touched your heart, show your support. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share this story with someone who believes that one person can still make a difference.